Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Primetime Media Podcast. We got another instant reaction for you guys. Once again, solo. We've been in talks of how to get everybody on through the Zoom and everything like that, trying to figure that out. But for now, it's just me. Once again, I want to say like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this video. If you enjoy the podcast, it's free. You could always unsubscribe at any point. Yeah, honestly, real quick, that's just some housekeeping notes that I had to get into. But now we could just get straight into it. The Spurs take Game 3 now to go, and not even the series, but now the series is 2-1, going into the Garden for Game 4 on Wednesday. But final score is 115 Spurs, 111 Knicks. And my first reaction to this is that the Spurs absolutely responded. There, as I dropped my phone, the Spurs absolutely responded. They came in with a certain level of energy, intensity, and poise. I think before the broadcast, or before the game actually started, Richard Jefferson and everybody on the call was kind of talking about, like, are the Spurs just gonna out of nowhere gain more poise and confidence and that, like, almost veteran aspect of a team. And they kind of did out of nowhere. They've shown that throughout the playoffs. It's just in the finals. It's just they're such a young team that in Game 1 it was kind of like a feel out game. You can kind of live with dropping that one. But Game 2, it felt like the Spurs gave that away. At the end, specifically with turnovers and their lack of aggression in the first half as well in Game 2. But now in Game 3, to start it off, Wemby was super aggressive downhill. The pressure that he puts on the rim ultimately opens the rest of the floor and opens up so many good shots for the rest of the players on the team. And I believe he started off he had their first 6 points. He had a block. He had a couple he had a couple of nice rebounds too. And like I said, that opens up everything for the rest of the team. That level of intensity is what allowed the Spurs to come out and guns blazing. Honestly, all three of these games, the Spurs have kind of came out and been the more aggressive team. Game 2, the Knicks had a nice. Was it Game 2, maybe Game 1, where the Knicks, I felt like, came out really strong as well. It was the game that Brunson went out. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but anyways, I say all that just because the Spurs made a lot less mistakes in this game, where they cut the turnovers down. To get the exact stat, the Spurs had 8 turnovers to the Knicks 13. So that was a huge part of it, where their decision making was just way better. There was still moments where they flawed. They did not play a perfect game. The Spurs by no means played a perfect game. I think they just were more aggressive with their approach in terms of their defense, and also in terms of just offensively attacking downhill. Harper finishing through contact. Honestly, in these games, I would like to see a little bit less settling. I feel like in certain moments Harper was settling, Wemby would settle in certain points in this series. I don't really think he did that in this game, to be honest. I think he kind of just took what the defense gave him most of the time. But another person attacking downhill was Stephon Castle. Was unstoppable attacking the rim for 90% of this game. There was points where I felt like he would go up on like 2 or 3 people, and that was not necessarily smart, but he had been going out, finishing through contact the entire game. So how mad, you can't really get mad at that. I feel like once again, the Spurs they play a very unselfish, where there's a lot of passing, there's a lot of ball movement, guys are getting everybody involved, and I think De'Aaron Fox probably had his best version of that, where he had 8 assists, and it really did feel like he was settling things down. I can't really tell with him, because he looks explosive, but it's just not the same level of explosiveness that he's shown throughout his career. He's not old. Like he's not like some aging player that out of nowhere, is now just not able to attack the rim. I don't really understand what it is. I don't know. He's not finishing as aggressively as I want. There's times where I feel like he gets into paint and he shoots a jumper, and it's frustrating because sometimes I feel like he could probably go up with the left. He could probably switch to the right, and he just doesn't. Like he hasn't shot well in this series at all, pretty much. But his decision making was very, very smart, and that's why they leave him on the floor in a lot of these moments. Because, I mean, he hit the shot to kind of like the dagger. I mean, OG made it close. I'll get into OG how he had an amazing game, but De'Aaron hit that type of shot, the jumper kind of at the elbow, like 1 foot into the paint type of shot, and that was kind of what sealed the game for them. I mean, ultimately, the Spurs made it a series. Backs against the wall, you have to do that. The energy, there is so much pressure. It's so easy for me to be like, oh, the Knicks are going to lose game 3 because there's so much pressure on them because, it's their first game at home in the finals since '99, and there is a level of expectation they have that they should be able to punch these young guys in the mouth and take a commanding 3-0 lead and essentially end the series. The energy from MSG, like, there was so many things working against the Spurs in this game, in my opinion, that the Knicks didn't fully take advantage of. Both teams played incredibly physical, and I think Mike Brown kind of talked about it in the press conference, which I very briefly saw on the TV. But the free throw shooting discrepancies was huge. Like, if we look at it right now, the Spurs went 25 of 32, and the Knicks went 18 of 22. So the Spurs made more free throws than the Knicks even shot. But both of them were being very physical. Like, there was just genuinely times where the refs, you can only let them play so physical until it's like, bro, come on. Like, they're smacking each other. There was honestly a couple more. I mean, it goes on both sides. The Spurs could have had probably, I don't know, they probably could have got 5 more shooting fouls. The Knicks probably could have got 10 more. Like, if we really want to break it down, it's never going to be completely even. If you want to say that, the NBA, they got some calls, hey, we want to extend the series, I guess you could say that. But both teams, it's going to be like that. It's just an incredibly physical series. Now, another aspect of how I'm talking about like the turnovers and everything is that in real time when you're watching it too, the Spurs had 21 points off turnovers to the Knicks 7. Just not fully taking advantage of their opportunities. Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. And this is a raw uncut, so it is what it is. You're gonna hear something like that. Anyways, I think an aspect of that is that the Spurs' defensive intensity was amazing. There was both sides I think played good defense. However, like, the Spurs forced the Knicks into so many uncomfortable situations where now I can kind of get into it, but the Knicks' ball movement this game was not good enough. It's not what they normally are. They just won they won 13 games in a row. The Spurs just broke that, right, obviously. And in that span of 13 games, they were passing the ball very well. They were making sure that they're getting timely buckets. Cat did not really get involved in the first half enough. And there was times where he'd go to the rim, he'd finish aggressively, he'd bring in the energy, but they're just not giving him the ball enough. Kind of reverts to what I had mentioned a couple times. How do I say this? This was the most Tom Thibodeau Knicks team that this team has looked like since they've won 13 straight games. It did not look like the Mike Brown offense that we had watched over the past, for really most of the playoffs, besides like the first 2 games of the Hawks series, or the first couple of games, I should say. Not only was the ball movement bad, but I felt like a lot of turnovers. Brunson struggled he struggled in this series big time. If you look at his purely off his points. You wouldn't probably think that, but he's just, you can tell how frustrated he is and how physically worn down Castle and the rest of the defenders are making him, where he's like, there's times they bring the ball up the court and like lackadaisically he just throws the ball behind Mikel, or he throws the ball behind Josh Hart or something like that, and now it's a turnover. Like, those are the very easy, simple things. There's not even a whole lot of pressure on him. He just literally, boom, wrong, like, just bad decision. You're throwing it behind somebody. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And not only that, but his shooting, they're not putting him in comfortable spots. And I think an aspect of this is, hey, look, I'm a superstar. I think it's fair to call Brunson a superstar now. He's brought the New York Knicks, out of misery. All right, they went to the playoffs one time before they got in that era with Randall and RJ and everything like that. But he got them to where they are now. They were an all right team then, but like, now I think you can officially call Brunson like a superstar, at least a superstar caliber player. You know, if you don't want to call him if you don't want to put him with the likes of like Curry, Braun, Anthony Edwards, Luka, that's fine. If you want to say he's like the next tier down, I don't think you can argue much lower than that. So he's brought the Knicks this far. My whole point is being like, he's the superstar, that he's the captain, everything like that. You want to close the game out for them in the Garden. You want to be the reason why you're winning. However, the reason you've been winning these games is because everybody's involved, and Mikel got into foul trouble early. He couldn't get in rhythm. He was pretty much a no-show. It didn't even, his defense intensity was there, but he only played, let me see, he played 29 minutes. He had 2 points. And not only did he have 2 points, but he only took 5 shots. I think he only took 2 in the first half. They got him out of the game early. If you think about it, in game 2, he was hitting a lot of good, tough shots whenever Cat would go to the bench or Brunson would go to the bench. They'd have stretches where both of them would go to the bench, and it's Mikel with a bunch of other guys around him, and he's taking these tough shots, keeping them in the game. And that was honestly probably a big reason why the Knicks offense wasn't getting as involved, because you have one less guy to go off of. But OG had maybe the best game I've ever seen from him. And when you're taking into account like the shots he was hitting, I mean, I don't think it was actually, I'm definitely exaggerating, but he's hitting fully contested shots. You cannot contest a guy better unless you're fouling him. Like, he's hitting these in the corner. It felt like the only shot I think he missed in the corner was the very last shot of the game with like 2 seconds left. They were down by 4. The game was over with. The fans were already walking out. That was like the only 3 in the corner I thought he missed all game. He was just hitting everything, aggressive as shit. He's in these middies. Where I'm thinking it's a miss, because all his momentum is going forward. It's not like that's analytically probably a bad shot, like a 1 or 2 feet into the 3-point line. It's probably, one of those shots where you don't want to take a lot of them, but he was hitting almost all of them, pretty much all of them. It felt like dunking aggressively. He was bringing energy. He was definitely the best player for the Knicks today. In my opinion, his defense was amazing. Overall, I think I talked about the Spurs defense, but I want to get to another play where I believe it was one of Mikel's shots. He went up and Castle blocked it, right? And then the ball gets bobbled. Harper and Cat fight for it. He goes up. Fox blocks that one. It's like, this is team basketball. It's like, nah, we're not satisfied with Castle getting that block, and then, Cat's just going to get an easy bucket because he's kind of, the defense is kind of a little messed up right now. It's just transition block or whatever, like that. Nope. Then they get it on their inbound. There's like a couple seconds left, and Wemby got a block. Like, all right, now I think it was Wemby. Like, okay, this is what we want to see right here. This is good basketball. It was amazing, honestly. I was watching this like, damn. You got to see a true superstar take over a game. or I feel like Wemby did take over the game. There was times where I felt like he lacked some aggressiveness, but like I when you start the game off like that, when you have stretches where you're so dominant, especially on defense, if other guys get involved, I'm not mad at. Like Castle was being aggressive while Wemby was kind of just focusing more on defense. I felt like in games 1 and 2, Wemby's defense wasn't as good as how it normally is. I felt like he was forcing his offense more, and like kind of that would take away from his defense. In this game, his defense was amazing. Like how it is 95% of the games he plays in, 98% of the games he plays in. A lot of those would lead to other points or outlet passes and everything like that. I still think a big problem that the Spurs can run into, if the Knicks can take advantage enough of it, is these second chance points. A lot of times they're getting beat off on the glass. You can live with that, I guess, because they kind of play like 4 guards and Wemby. So like, I think a lot of them are good physical rebounders. However, you just don't have enough size, especially when the Knicks have like more wings and a lot of athletic, rangy defenders that can close out these possessions. But the Knicks had 21 points off of second chance. Like they had 21 second chance points to the Spurs 10, and they got out rebounded 37 rebounds to the Knicks 46. That is something that the Spurs got to clean up, in my opinion. You got to live with that. I'm sorry, you can't really just be like, oh, we won the game, we can kind of live with that. No, you got to clean that up, because that can come to bite you, especially that's how a lot of times the crowd gets involved, where you could play great defense. You could play 23 seconds of great defense, and they get a rebound, a putback, whatever it is, and now the crowd is hyped. They're chanting. They end up getting a 3 because the defense is lost. Everybody was scattering, trying to get a board or get out in transition. It's just not how successful operations are going to work in the playoffs. That's things that can get you beat, and it will get you beat if you let it. They didn't let it today, which is good. Another thing I want to get to is that Castle, they made the switch of having Castle being the primary defender on Brunson, and I think that made him the most uncomfortable he looked in this series. He might have had the most points he's had out of these 3 games, but he looked very uncomfortable. He just ran into him, kind of similar to like how Carter Bryant ran into Shea, but it definitely felt a little bit more like, maybe it's just because Brunson's shorter. It looked like he kind of snapped his head back and everything like that. Overall, they're just wearing him down, and I think it's a smart move to have Castle on him. And whatever schemes they were applying on the Cat to kind of get him to not have the ball as much, they need to continue to do. The Knicks are going to make their adjustments as well. Mike Brown has actually done a really good job in his coaching career with the Knicks so far, that I believe he'd be able to make another adjustment, and now the Knicks come out firing and everything like that. It's just tough. Late in I would say midway through the second quarter and like the beginning of the third, the Knicks went on a nice run. They got like a little 12-point. They were down by 12 points. Then they got the lead going into halftime. I think it was like 3 or 4 points. It wasn't anything insane, but it was enough. And I think they came out of the third quarter with a nice level of like it kind of felt like the ball was moving good, and then it just went stale. I don't know what it was. It didn't went stale. I think that maybe the physicality was getting to them. Once again, Mikal picked up these fouls. Brunson picked up a couple fouls, and he had the flagrant, which, I mean, I don't really think it's a flagrant. It's definitely a shooting foul. He landed in Champagne's like his landing zone, but I don't think it was a flagrant. That was another big swing. Overall, man, I enjoyed the game a lot. Like I said before, I think the Spurs will win in 6. Now, for me to be right, they got to win 3 more straight. So that 4 straight in total. And it's possible for sure. a big point to that would be Game 4. If they win Game 4, now the series is essentially 0-0. It's essentially 0-0, and you get to go back home to San Antonio. Mikal Bridges knows exactly that mentality. Obviously, when he was in the finals, they went up 2-0, and then they lost 4 straight. So he understands the series is not over, and I guarantee you him and the rest of the veterans on the team are going to preach the same thing. But yeah, it's up to the Spurs, honestly. I still think the pressure is going to be on the Knicks, especially at home where you can go up 3-1. The pressure is going to be on the Knicks. I mean, there's pressure on both teams. It's the NBA Finals, but I do think the Knicks have the more pressure on them. Two things I wanted to kind of speak about real quick is I feel like Deuce McBride didn't really get enough burn, in my opinion. He literally took 2 shots. He played 9 minutes, 0 points. I think they could have had him in. And at points, especially like instead of Shamet was playing with 5 fouls and he hit 1 3. It was a good 3. Don't get me wrong. I think that was in the point where they were kind of going back and forth for a little bit. But I probably would have taken him out, to be honest. I know that even if he's not hitting, the Spurs have to respect that level of 3-point shooting, but I probably would have just subbed him out at that point and tried to put in Deuce, especially when McKenna is out and you could use Deuce is like a little stronger framed guy. Like, I mean, not a little, but he's a little bit of a stronger framed guy compared to Shamet, at least. Shamet, to me, he's like a skinnier 3-point shooting player, and at some point you have to sacrifice certain things. Maybe that's what they look into in Game 4 if Shamet gets into foul trouble again, which he didn't really care. I think he ended the game with 5 fouls, and it was like, bro, who cares? He was still doing his thing. Clarkson, Jordan Clarkson was finishing. If he comes in and does that for the rest of the series, they have a spark plug on their bench, because he was hitting the 3 that he hit. I think it was at the end of the shot clock, heavily contested, splash, like that shit was insane. And then a couple tough like threes and middies and whatever. I just had to give credit where credit is due, because Jordan Clarkson, I mean, he's been on some good teams. He's played with some good players over his career. Well, he played with Kobe too, right? I know he played with Bron. He was on Utah for a minute. I know he hated being in Utah. I mean, he could kind of shoot whatever he wanted because they had no expectations, but like, I know that shit was trash. Is there anything else I kind of want to get into? I don't think so. Champagnie, I'm not going to lie, for most of the game, I was like, Champagnie really hasn't done much. And then I checked the box. He had the literally the quietest 12 ever. If I didn't look at my phone, I'd be like, damn, he might have had 3 points. I remember him hitting 1 jumper. Insane. Yeah, I honestly, I was also surprised that Carter Bryant didn't like play more. I know that they wanted to trust like their people, and it's one thing. Clearly, Mitch Johnson. I mean, I've been screaming Dylan Harper needs to play more, especially down the stretch. He did this game, but like there'd be times in other series too, I'd be kind of thinking the exact same thing. So, you know, I guess his leash with rookies is pretty low. He does play, and it's a level of intensity, but it's not. I feel like sometimes you can have him and maybe play a little bit more, but it is what it is. And this deep in the playoffs, bro, I mean, if you have 7 guys playing, that's pretty good. And that's kind of how it is. Keldon played better. He's still struggling to shoot the ball overall, but he had a couple really big rebounds, and his energy is always going to be something that the Spurs can kind of take advantage of and everything. But right now, their best guy off the bench is Harper. It's not close. If I had to predict, so Game 3 is going to happen, or I'm sorry, Game 4 is going to happen on Wednesday. I will, yeah. I'm definitely going to be able to watch that too. I'm looking to probably film the pod on Thursday if we can and get the boys back. So there might not be an instant reaction. We will see. If the game is good enough. If it's a blowout, probably not. If the Spurs go and blow them out, probably not. If the Knicks blow them out, probably not either. We'll just talk about that, like how it's a 3-1. But anyways, if you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's completely free. You can unsubscribe at any point. I really appreciate it. This is content that I really enjoy doing. I want to continue to do this. I'm at times I'm like, man, obviously we don't have no big fan base or nothing like that. This is just me talking to a camera. It might be like, I think we had one video that hit like over 200 views, and we have some that hit like 30 or whatnot. So it's not necessarily like a motivation thing. It's just more so I think just got to keep doing it. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Tune in to the next episode, whatever we do. And yeah, y'all have a